Welcome to our inner circle.
Yeah. We're going to talk about...
I've said that like too many times.
It's the tagline. It's fine. Yes. It's good. Welcome to another episode of This Stays Between Us. This is Crystal.
And I'm Marissa.
I didn't start this rumor. I'm just
spreading it. Hey, we love the tea. Welcome to our inner circle. We love it.
Did you know that Colleen... Am I saying her name right? Colleen?
I don't know.
I thought about it too much. Hoover. Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Is working on 3 more movies right now from her books.
Wow.
Have you read any of her books?
I have not read any of her books. I have heard critiques of Colleen Hoover's books.
Share your thoughts of the books you haven't read.
Other people. I know. Share your thoughts of other people's thoughts.
Isn't that what a podcast are? You know.
Yeah. Well, honestly, like what I've heard is just that there's like some of the stories that she's written tend to be like it can be very dark, and it's just like I had a friend comment about how wild it is that she thinks of this stuff, you know, like, and that's an interesting take. It's like, yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, she's just disturbed. And well, I mean, I've read a few of them. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if you want some deets about it, but yeah.
Yeah, like the one that I'm thinking of them.
Verity?
I had a friend talking to... What?
Is that the one you're thinking of?
Which one?
Verity?
Maybe. I don't know the title of it, but it's one that, like, there's a child, like a baby that dies or something, right? Or a child that dies?
A couple.
Okay, maybe it's that one. Anyway.
I think there's all 3. I don't know.
Why don't you, from first-hand experience, tell me what
Not
you
with
think.
murder, but with reading the book.
Let's make that clear.
It's been a while. I read Verity, and I read Regretting You, which are 2 of the 3 movies that are being released from the books.
Interesting. I will tell you my opinion when the movie comes out.
That's fair. I mean, I did enjoy Verity. It's a very dark, book. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I do like thrillers, and I feel like it was hard to put it down because it was so disturbing, some of the things. And I don't know do you know, like, the general, like, plot?
No.
Okay. So basically there's this writer, and...
Yes, I do.
So you do.
But our besties might not, so why don't you tell it to them?
Lowen, who's going to be played by... I already forgot. Is it Amanda Bynes? Or no, not Amanda Bynes. She's been out of the game.
Wait, I was about to be like, what? We get Amanda Bynes back? I loved her.
Have you seen how Lindsay Lohan is back?
Yeah.
And she looks good.
She does look good. I want that for Amanda Bynes so much. You have no idea.
But I think she's been hurt too much by the...
I know. It really breaks my heart. I was such a big fan of her.
Let me see if I can pull it up here on one of the screens. What was I going to look? Oh, yeah. Verity. Cast. If I can spell. Oh. Dakota Johnson is going to play Lowen.
Okay, Dakota.
I actually have liked her recently. I never watched 50 Shades of Grey or whatever it was. And I watched, what was it? Madam Web. That was trash. She was in that. But it wasn't trash because of her. The story was just garbage, I think. And the movie was poorly produced.
I can't say I've seen that one. There was one movie that I really liked her in that I also can't remember the title of. So let's just move forward.
You know what the weird thing is? Like, the thing that I know her best from is the Vogue interview that she said she loves limes in her kitchen.
Oh, yeah. And then she's like,
she doesn't.
I was lying.
Honestly, I kind of liked her from that.
I know. We love the authenticity.
It was so real. Lowen, our writer, she gets this invite. I can't remember exactly how this happens to basically, or gets like an interview to finish these books for this lady who's a really famous writer who became disabled, and she's basically like in a coma or something permanently, but they don't want to like shut off the machines type of deal. So she moves into her house, and this lady's upstairs like dying or in a coma or whatever it is.
Yes.
But her husband lives at the house. And
oh yeah, and she has a relationship with a husband.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I know. It's kind of like weird because like she seems nice and like the husband seems sad and like the girl, like the wife is in the coma or whatever, but it sounds like she's terrible. So this writer, Lowen, like the main girl, she basically finds, she's supposed to finish this like this series that this woman wrote, but she ends up finding this manuscript that was never published. Mm-hmm. And it's basically this wife talking about her life, like when she met her husband and stuff. So it's kind of interesting and you're reading about it and stuff. But then you just find out she's this horrible person in this manuscript. Like she hates her husband, like she hates her life. Yes. She like gets pregnant and like she attempts an abortion with a hanger or something. I can't remember all the details. Yeah, but like
that sounds very painful.
She like kills one of her kids. Like she says they go out in a canoe or whatever and she like dumps it and like makes them drown. Like really like disturbing stuff. And basically the whole time is like every night this main character reads a little bit more of the manuscript. Yeah. And you're just like, what the freak? So you're basically like, shut off the machines when it's crazy. She wakes up, you're screwed. And then at one point she's making out with the husband on the couch and she sees the wife at the top of the stairs. And then she stops it and tells him she's over there. And he's like, you're seeing things. She's in a coma. And she's like, no, dude. And she starts seeing signs that like the wife is faking it. Yeah. Anyway, do you want me to tell you the ending? Or
I think I know the ending.
Oh, okay. What do you think happens?
Do we spoiler alert?
That movie's coming out.
Okay, spoiler alert. They find out that was like a writing exercise from like the lady that's in the coma. She like none of it actually happened. It was just like all a writing exercise. And
so we don't know. That's the thing. The whole thing basically ends with this main character, if I'm remembering it right, Lowen, and the husband, they like kill the wife. But then they find this letter hidden in her room, or Lowen does, months later when she's pregnant with his child. And the letter basically says that the whole thing was a writing exercise and that she got tricked by it. Yeah. But you don't know who's telling the truth. You don't know if the husband's evil. Like, basically the letter also says that the husband was the one that got her into an accident or whatever. He was trying to kill her. I can't remember all the details. But, yeah. So, basically, the ending, you're like, is the manuscript real or not? And you're kind of like, ooh.
Interesting.
It was a page-turner. I feel like it was pretty, like, it was really disturbing at times. But I feel like it was an interesting story. But from what I've read some of her other books, or I think I've read one of her other books, only the other one, I think, Regretting You. It doesn't seem like it was written by the same person, allegedly. I'm not accusing anybody, but it really doesn't. Like,
just like very different style
of writing, and also like the type of story. Like, Regretting You is the other one that I read, and that one's basically like written from the daughter's perspective. The dad and the aunt die in a car accident, but they weren't supposed to be together. And then they find out they were having an affair. And basically, when they died, they were, like, riding together somewhere. And basically, the whole story is, like, the girl falling in love with the boy from school and dealing with her dad's death and the lies. And then the mom dealing with it, too. It was just, like, such a different vibe. And I know you can write different types of books, but the writing style was really different. And, like, it just didn't seem like it came from the same place, you know? Yeah. It was just kind of odd. Yeah. Like, I didn't completely hate it, but I did feel like the other book that I read was not well written at all. And Verity was okay, but it wasn't amazing, but it was better, you know? Anyway, I don't really know, but we'll see how the books turn out. I mean, it looks like only Verity has, like, the other ones, I think the first one, like, Regretting You is by, like, Paramount or something. Reminders of Him is, like, by another random one, and then Verity is the only one that's being done by Amazon. So it seems like it has more funding, like the Prime whatever. It's going to be an Amazon Prime thing.
Yeah. That'll be...
Video, whatever it's called. Amazon Video? You know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yes. Prime,
yeah. I was right the first time.
Sponsor us.
Yeah, please. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. I saw a lot of people were really surprised online that she got 3 other deals to publish or release movies from her books.
Yeah, I've seen, honestly, again, like, I feel like I'm very much like an outsider as far as like Colleen Hoover lore, and whatever goes on in the books that she writes. But one of the comments that I thought was like the funniest that I've seen on like a TikTok video commenting on like the whole lawsuit and everything was the first mistake in all of this was creating a movie out of a Colleen Hoover book. And I was like, I don't get it, but that's hilarious.
I know, it's such a roast.
It's such a roast.
It's funny. I mean, I didn't read It Ends With Us. I liked the movie okay. Like, I thought it was alright.
Well, honestly, yeah, the movie was, I feel like it had more potential. And I guess, like, Justin's edit probably shows that potential of like, because it is such a moving story. And to be fair, like even that, the one that we got, I thought it was touching,
Yeah.
And
I feel like it felt a little choppy, but the story itself, like, it was interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, there are some critiques of just like the portrayal of domestic abuse. I thought it didn't do it justice in the sense that it like there's just more there's more that goes into it,
yeah,
and not to get too deep into that stuff, but yeah, but what I was gonna say is like I didn't read it, but I know a lot of people who read it and loved it and they were very touched by the book.
Bad things about it, actually.
Really?
I don't know too much. Again, it was just things that I heard, but someone was telling me how like there's these weird letters or emails that she sends to Ellen.
Yeah. I heard that too. I was like, what?
Her kid's name, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like there was something to do with Just Keep Swimming Dory was the daughter's middle name because of Just Keep Swimming. I thought that was kind of stupid.
Yeah, it is.
I feel like that killed the whole thing for me personally, but
yeah,
you can name your kid whatever you want, but they're gonna get beat up in the playground.
when it's for that reason. Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I also felt like we can get into it a little bit. In the movie, I understand the idea of not like making you seem confused on what happened, but I feel like that also, and like at the end, her kind of realizing it. I get the idea there, but I feel like that just kind of masked it too much. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, and honestly, like the issue I had with it was when she expresses all of this to him, he just immediately accepts it. Where he's like you're right. I was
the divorce part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When like they have the baby, like they're in the delivery room, and she has that speech of like, if your daughter came to you and said that her husband pushed her down the stairs, like, would you let her? That whole speech, and then right after that, he's like, no, you're right. I wouldn't let her go back to him.
Also, for a very violent person, what were your thoughts of her telling him that while he's holding the baby?
Yeah.
I couldn't breathe.
There was just, like, a lot of disconnect there with, like, who his character is and who that character is and like, how he is acting in that particular scene. There's a lot more, like, narcissism and gaslighting that typically goes into that kind of situation, which I can understand where, like, it might be kind of difficult to really put that into like a 2 hour, 3 hour
maybe the
movie.
idea is that he was being manipulative in that side. I feel like the thing that I have a problem with is when we were leaving, I went to watch it with Josh and we were leaving the theater and a lot of people were like, so was he hitting her? And then I heard someone else be like, I would take him back. I mean, he was sorry. And so, which I guess maybe it's the idea.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's actually interesting. I didn't hear anything like that. So, but
I feel like you have to. I don't know. That's the thing I have a little bit of an issue with. I feel like. I mean, I know that they had like the really intense scene, like the last one between them. So it portrays them very poorly in that, and you can kind of see it. But I feel like they didn't get into it very much, and I'm not like, I feel like it was fine that it ended on a positive note. Like, she left him, she's good, she cut him out, like, and she was coping with what
her
and like she's still coping with what she went through, but like she's moving on with her life and leaving him in the past, and like and I don't know. Anyway, but I also feel like during the mean together, there was like too many like flowers and things too. Like, I know you wanted to see her life, but like I feel like it should have been a little darker.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like while she's with him, like I feel like it wasn't very. I don't know.
Like it was too. Like
it felt like too light, I guess, because you're not sure if he's really hitting her, and then like they're having, and like I know it's complicated because they're having good moments and then some bad, but
yeah,
I feel like it felt like too evened out. It had to be more like she wants to stay because there was a good at the beginning, but that's not really there anymore, you know?
Yeah.
All that much.
Yeah. I do think like there is something to be said about that portrayal of like abuse isn't like always abusive, you know? There's like it comes and it goes in the sense that like somebody can be abusive and then the next moment they're treating you super well,
and that's
then
probably
the next
more
moment,
the pattern, right? To keep them, like you push him away and then pull him in and you do that. But I feel like because you're confused about whether or not he's abusing her, technically, kind of, and there's some light in there, I don't know. I feel like some people are just slow and they're not going to catch on to what's happening. But I feel like it should have been a little bit more clear that he was the abuser.
Yeah. I agree. I would be very curious to hear like the take of somebody who has been in a situation like that, you know, like who as long as that movie isn't like a trigger for them or anything, but like just what their thoughts on that whole expression of domestic abuse.
Yeah. I mean,
what that looks
the
like.
cover, for one, I feel like didn't really tell you what you were going in for at all.
Not at all, because I didn't know. I went in there complete like I had no idea. I had friends who had read the book and they're like, this is like a phenomenal story, like it, you know. And so I didn't ask. I just kind of wanted to be surprised and and then I was like, oh, that's what it's about.
You're like, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Also, the outfits were really painful. I know that's the least like important part of the movie, but that could have been improved. But that was really distracting, I felt.
Yeah, and it's like, it's honestly, I don't know if I'm like, you can call me whatever you want to call me, but I like it when a book or a movie stays true to the character of the book. Yeah,
I thought you were going to say that you like the outfits. I was going to be like, get out.
Never.
No.
No. And from what I understand, like, Lily Bloom was very different from the portrayal of from the way that Blake portrayed her.
Yeah.
That wasn't her style, and just a lot of things were very different. But
I'll be honest, I actually just remember that I started that book forever ago because someone recommended it to me, and I think I only read the first couple chapters, and I wasn't really hooked because I don't know. I in the book cover, you think it's kind of a romance too. Yeah. And I don't know. Wasn't in the mood for that, I guess. But when I switched to something else. But yeah, even in the first few chapters, like when it describes like the rooftop scene and whatever, like she's a cool girl, you know? Mm-hmm. And then she looks like a mechanic or something.
Yeah, and she's wearing like really fancy brands, right? Isn't it like all like Gucci and Coach and stuff like that?
Awful. It doesn't look expensive. No. She's wearing like 3 layers of pants. I saw that Target was actually selling like jeans that have like a second layer of like for a belt loop or whatever.
Wild.
I know.
I wonder if that catches on.
I sure freaking hope not. I mean, I ain't buying it. I'm one person, but still, it's ugly, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw that she was trying to maybe get like a tax cut because you can expense like the clothes or whatever that you're wearing. Yeah, because it's kind of like you're renting it to the movie. Yeah. So I'm sure she got the money back.
Interesting.
I know.
Weird.
I know.
That's very interesting that something like that would get a tax cut.
Because you're also thinking like, well, I know that in the movie she's older, but even still, like wearing $5,000 shoes, that's not realistic for anyone. And I guess she's renting like a store at a...
Well, she's like, she's a business, like a local small business owner, you know, like she's just starting off.
And like no one's ever in that shop. Did you notice that? They had no sales.
their first customer was her boyfriend.
And then we were hoping he ended up in jail. That was it, I think. The other boyfriend, when he came in the shop, he didn't buy anything.
Interesting.
He was supportive in other ways, but obviously, but
he didn't buy her flowers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tea. Are we at time? We have a little bit more time.
Yeah.
I saw some other tea. Apparently, do you know who? I think her name is Leslie Sloan. She's Blake Lively's publicist, or ex-publicist, I think now. But apparently she filed a lawsuit, and she said that she's not responsible for the things that Blake Lively and her husband did in their comments.
Wait, is she suing Blake Lively?
I actually don't know who she's suing. I just thought that she'd file a lawsuit.
Someone.
Somebody. That's a good question.
As long as it's not me.
She found out about you talking smack online. I think she filed, let's see. Oh, she filed basically a motion to get dismissed from the whole thing, because she's saying that she can't be sued for defamation, because Justin Baldoni is suing Blake Lively, and Leslie Sloan is mentioned in the thing, in the lawsuit. And so she's saying, I'm not responsible for the things that they did, which is wild because you're their publicist.
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to get fired. Or maybe she already was. And then she also they were going after her because in one of the text messages that she had, she mentioned that Blake Lively got sexually assaulted on set. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I mean, I meant sexually harassed or whatever, but they're the same thing. Which I'm like, no, they're not.
Yeah, they're very different.
Very different. I feel like they're both serious, but
yes.
I mean, the penalty for sexually assaulting someone is
much higher.
Much higher. The anguish and damage to the person is way higher too. Yeah. They're both bad.
Yeah.
I mean, they could both be bad things.
Uh-huh.
That's true. But to use them interchangeably is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really have comments. That's just crazy.
I know. Yeah. I think it's interesting when, I don't know, if I think about this a little bit, she's a publicist, right? She's a publicist for celebrities, like that's her whole job. And then she goes on a current employer and like destroys her reputation online. How do you get a job again? You have to switch industries, I would think.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's not a good look for her. That's not like a good situation for her to be in.
Yeah.
For anybody to, and I feel like anybody that's like within a foot of this whole situation, like,
it's just jumping.
Yeah, it's
jumping
bad.
Ship.
It's bad news.
Did you see Anna Kendrick? She, what's the word? She's like, yeah, I know. It just came to me. It's written down. Anyway, she, what's the word when you're presenting an award? She was like presenting an award the other day. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
The way she presented it, I think it was for directors. They did it on purpose. I mean, they had to. And she said, like, you know how we all respect our directors? It's such the most difficult job. So people were clipping that and they're like, whose side she's on.
Oh yeah, I feel like there's so many interviews that have been like brought up where like it's Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively, and you can just tell she's just like done with like Blake's antics.
So annoyed.
Yeah.
The Disney princess one, she's just firing back like, "Oh, poor you." Shut up. It's like, I don't think she likes you, but okay.
Oh my
it's
gosh.
Bad. There was also some interviews with Blake Lively that came out. One of them, she was saying how she didn't know who Colleen was, Mrs. Hoover, however you say her name. And she found out about her after she was offered the job or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there was another interview where she's like, sitting with her, and she's saying like, the only reason I took this job, like I went after it, I wanted to act in this movie because it was you and I knew your influence and whatever. It was like they were playing both of them back to back because it was BS.
That is, yeah, it boggles my mind because it's like, this stuff is recorded, you know, but then at the like on the other hand, I don't know, if you haven't been caught before, you sort of get into that space of like, I can kind of say whatever I want to say, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I would think that this is part of media training. Like, you don't want to, like, don't lie, because then you have to remember, if you're going to be a liar, you have to have a good memory, so you know, like, what you said, when, to who, like, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And if it's going to be recorded, I feel like you can't get away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, I would, maybe that's like a rabbit hole I kind of want to go down, is like, what does media training actually look like?
I don't know.
What do you learn in media training? And do we need it?
I just hit my tooth.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know.
Didn't break your straw, though.
I don't know. I have broken my tooth like multiple times this one, so I have to be careful. But
From your straw?
no, from different things. I don't know how I broke it the first time, but the second time I think I was eating Mentos or something, and then another time I was eating something else.
Classic Mentos.
I know, they're pretty hard. I don't know. Yeah,
Dang.
split tip is fake.
You bit it with like your front tooth?
At some point, I guess. I like don't usually, but I guess at some point I bit it right there. Like you just hit it hard, like the right spot. I also grind my teeth at night, so that's part of it too.
Oh, yeah.
So they had to file down my front two teeth, so it wouldn't bump anymore.
Your teeth look beautiful, though.
Thank you.
Doesn't even look broken.
Because they fixed it.
They did well.
Anyway, back to the rabbit hole.
Sorry.
It was expensive too to fix like 6 times. Anyway, media training. That's interesting. I don't fully know. I mean, I think it's got to have something to do with not being sued. So you're being careful with making allegations or what you're saying about other people.
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like that has something to do with it. There's like this interview with, I think, Sabrina Carpenter or something, because she filmed one of her music videos at a church and it was kind of scandalous. And someone asked her about it and she was just like, gotta go. She's like not answering. I think that's part of it too. Just like not saying anything compromising that's going to get you sued.
Yeah.
You're probably getting some advice from lawyers and different things, and just being careful with what you say. I think part of it too is being like sounding eloquent and like answering the question you want to answer, not the one you were asked, like politicians.
Yes. I've actually, I'll play that game with my boyfriend sometimes of like trying to answer differently from the question that was asked, but trying to do it very
seeing how far you can manipulate him. I like it.
Well, he's fully aware that I'm doing this because I do it very badly. I am
you're learning. You gotta
I know.
Get that media training.
I'm so bad at it. I'm like, like nothing comes to mind.
I was just thinking about it, and I was thinking like being interviewed for a new job. And I'm like, I feel like I've done that before where I answered the question I wanted them to ask. But I feel like the most part is when they do like 2 or 3 questions in one. And then halfway you forget what they asked. So you're just like, I'm going to say this. And then hopefully that wraps it up.
Hopefully it makes some kind of sense. And there's so many times where I'm like halfway through saying something and then I start thinking like, what was the question? But I'm still talking while I'm like thinking. And so I'm like, wait,
you're just as surprised as whoever's listening to you.
Like, I wonder how this is going to end.
You're just saying a bunch of filler words and going around in circles.
Has that ever happened to you? You're like, you have a whole different conversation going on in your head than like what you're saying. You're like,
what is happening? I had that today. I mean, I do trainings sometimes at work, and sometimes I'm gonna go say something and I realize that the setting is not there or like something's wrong, so I have like to pivot, and I'm just listening to myself pivot as in my brain I'm like, shoot. This is being recorded.
It's like those cartoons where like the feet are running faster than like the top of the body, you know, and you're just like, I don't know where they went. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
I think we're at time, but
okay.
All right. thank you for joining us for another episode.
This stays between us.
Find the mouse. There you go.